This year I've shot some funny photos, and in just a moment I'm going to run through some of my favourites. F1 is not typically an hilarious sport. It's pretty serious. Guys going flat out, dangerous pursuit, lots of action. So today I'm going to take a break from the action and we're going to look at some of the funnier moments of F1, kicking off with Lando Norris doing the salmon. Now, I didn't know about the salmon until the Mexican race, and then Will Joseph told me. Will is, where is he? He's up the back here. That's Will. He's one of the engineers at McLaren. And he mentioned the fact that after the race in Mexico, they'd be doing the salmon. What is the salmon? Well, it's when Lando jumps into the arms of all his crew here, and in this particular instance, they tickle him, and then I get the photo. So I thought, yeah, I'll come and shoot that. What a bizarre thing. It's a ritual that's done after every race. No particular time. Could be straight after, could be a couple of hours after. But the salmon with Lando Norris, if you ever get a chance to see it, photograph it, it's good fun. Next up was Abu Dhabi testing when I saw this particular fella strapped to one of the tyre trolleys being wheeled around the paddock. I thought, what is going on here? And I followed him. He was having soft drink and water poured all over him. As you can see, gaffer taped to the trolley. There's a whole lot of food on him as well. Now, this is part of a ritual that takes place when a team member leaves the team and goes to another team. At the end of the season, they present him to the new team. In this case, it was Toro Rosso. And Toro Rosso did a bit of embellishing on him and poured some oil all over him. And then they send him back to McLaren for him to wash up. I don't even know if that has a name, but it certainly struck a chord with me. Carlos Sainz at the US GP on that very cold Thursday, everybody was rugged up, and there was a 3-shot here, which he was doing for one of his crew, I think, and then out of the blue, he grabs the girls and pulls them in tight. On the left is Charlotte, the press officer for Renault, and on the right is Noemi from Spanish TV. So I got some lovely shots of a smiling Carlos Sainz bear hugging these two fine ladies in the paddock. Still on the subject of Carlos, here he is with Nico Hülkenberg on the grid at one of the races in Europe earlier this year. And I was just watching them, and then bang, out of nowhere, Nico sack-whacks him. And as you can see, Carlos has been taken by surprise here, but more so Lando in the background with his funny look on his face. That was a funny moment. And I don't know what goes on at McLaren, but they seem to be jokers, because here's another example. Lando takes to Carlos's photo with a marker pen. This was outside the paddock in Suzuka. And of course, once he's done that, Carlos must return the favour and draws all over Lando's picture. And then I take this photo of the pair of them. In this shot, you're looking at one of the TV cameramen from Hungary. This is Szilard. And I said to him, give us a funny look. And I get this shot. I've never seen anybody do this. And I think I probably may never see it again. Here's a bit of an odd shot of Lance Stroll heading to the garage at the German GP with a real spring in his step, and I was the only photographer around and he certainly didn't see me, so I think it would probably come as some surprise that these pictures even exist. Moving on to Charles Leclerc now. Charles features in 3 different situations in my 2019 Funny Photos video. Here he is first up in the Silverstone paddock, and he was just standing there. Mattia Binotto comes up behind him, tickles him, and he takes off smiling and laughing. Now, I don't often see Charles in such joyous moods in the paddock. Normally, he's pretty reserved and pretty serious about life. That was the first one. I'm going to hark back to last year because of the fact that I didn't do these videos last year, so I've snuck it into this year's one. Here we are, standing in the Mexican paddock. He was doing an interview, and he was getting ready, a live TV interview, and up behind him comes Maurizio Arrivabene on the left, and on the right here you can see Gino Rosado. Maurizio grabs that ear, Gino grabs the other one, and then they twist them, and it obviously hurt the young fella because he's pulled away and he's got, at this stage, no idea who's behind it. And then he turns around and obviously works out who it is at some point. Daniil Kvyat features with this funny photo of him blowing me a kiss. And what preceded was something interesting. I'd got these cutouts of various drivers' faces and their girlfriends' or wives' faces. So in Daniil's case, I'd cut out his girlfriend's face, Kelly Piquet. I'd put it over the front of my lens, and then as he's finished a media interview, he's come towards me and seen this, and he's had a bit of a laugh, and then he's blown me a kiss. So I was pretty happy with the photo too. Here's a funny shot of Lando Norris, who's just popped up underneath this flag and given me a smile. I didn't expect it. I was waiting for him at the back of the national anthem red carpet, and he's just turned around and popped up in my viewfinder. I like that picture. Moving on to Davide and Federica from Sky Italia. Daniil Kvyat's also in this, you've got his back there. So Davide's walking towards me and he's looking a bit sad, end of the day. Lovely Federica's put her arm over his shoulder and is trying to cheer him up. He continues being sad. She continues trying to get his attention. Daniil walks past, grabs Federica's arm just to say hi. She looks over her shoulder. Unfortunately, she's slightly out of focus there, but I'm going to live with this because of the fact it's such a great expression. And this is the shot that ended up being used on many memes, especially throughout Italy, because the two on the left are so well known. And Daniil, I think, also likes that photo and will probably end up using that in something he's doing, I believe, shortly. Before I get on to Nico Hulkenberg, and I have a ream of stuff on this man because he was my main funny guy this year, I want to remind you that I have my Melbourne dinner. If you're going to the Australian Grand Prix, I urge you to come along to this dinner. It's great fun. It's only 20 odd people in a room. I'll tell you a little bit about F1, what goes on behind the scenes, a little bit more than what you find out on my videos, and plus the fact that you get to mix with some people who have a common love of Formula One. Moving on to Nico Hulkenberg, and there is quite a bit of Nico in this particular video. On the left, you've got his trainer, Martin Poole. On the right, Nico. I've taken a photo just prior to this, which is a standard of the two of them walking at testing in Abu Dhabi. And then as I put my camera up to take another shot, they've gone into this pose. And luckily, I managed to get it. So this is the sort of stuff you don't get during a normal weekend with lots of people around. Because it was testing, it was only me, no one else around, and I luckily managed to get a sharp frame. Now throughout the year, as I've come to know Nico a bit better, he's played up to my camera a lot. In Singapore, I had a big wide-eyed serious face. If you go back to round 20, we headed to Brazil and I get big eyes but with a half smile on his face. Once again in Singapore, after the race, sitting out the back there, I'm the only photographer around, water being poured over his head. Then he looks over at me and then he says, "Get a shot of me eating this Snickers bar." For some reason, he wanted a shot of him eating that Snickers bar. Now, once again, you don't get that with too many other drivers. Another shot from the Singapore GP of Nico and Martin walking in, giving me the fingers there. This was one of the first funny shots I got of him back at one of the European races. This was in Azerbaijan. He just finished a track ride and he's come back and given me that look. Here's another one, sucking in the air. And my favourite for the year, this shot in Abu Dhabi, last race of the year. He's bending over, stretching. I'm standing behind him on the grid as he's waiting for the national anthem to be played. And bang, I get two fingers up and a bit of a smirk on his face. And in fact, I don't know, is he smiling? Let's turn it upside down and have a look and zoom in. No, he's not smiling, he's looking serious, but he is a funny man. Dutch fans will know Jack Ploy from Ziggo Sport, and he often plays up to the camera, giving me a whole host of funny options, telling me that, hey, hurry up, I've got things to do. Many of you will know Will Buxton, a Brit, a very knowledgeable Brit too, a commentator, and on occasions he's given me funny faces, God knows what for, but I'm happy to take those shots. Mariana from Brazil TV has a huge audience. She's playing up to me. And in these final shots, these are just candid shots where the shutter's been open at the inappropriate time. Antonio Giovinazzi with a mouthful of air. Lando Norris, have a look at this expression here. Now, I can't even tell you what was going on, but I quite love the look on his face. George Russell, looking dopey and tired, as is Daniel Ricciardo at one of the press conferences. A similar expression on Sebastian Vettel's face as he stands talking to Mika Hakkinen in the hospitality suite at the Spanish Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc, wide-eyed, a little unusual. Jean Alesi, once again a mouthful of air. Lance Stroll, looking a bit goofy in one of the press conferences, as is Romain Grosjean. Obviously he's blinking, but it looks like he's fallen asleep. Max Verstappen with a goofy look on his face. A rather unusual look here from Federica Maslin. And two shots from a press conference. Pierre Gasly with one eye closed and the other one half closed. And one of my favourite shots from the year, this press conference where elder statesman Kimi Raikkonen sitting in the middle there with the four younger drivers eagerly chatting to each other either side of him. So that's my funny moments for 2019. Oh, except this particular shot was my very last shot of the year, where I asked Charles as he was heading out of testing at Abu Dhabi, hey, can you give us something fun For my end of year shot, there's no one around, and I get a crazy face from the Ferrari driver. So there you go, some funny shots from 2019 and a couple from 2018. Remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos, and click the bell button too for notifications. Your comments are appreciated. You can own any of my images at prostarpics.com. Blogs and podcasts, you'll find them at kimellman.com, and you'll get pictures live from the track and all through the off-season at Kim Ellman. Thanks for watching and stay passionate.